Welcome to A Deeper Dive. We've created this podcast to explore ideas and trends for the new era of business. We'll strip away the hype, eliminate the buzzwords, and focus on giving you a clear understanding and some knowledge that you can use in the real world. Each program is broken into 5 segments, exploring the concept, how it works, and at least 2 use cases from real-world experience. The final segment in each series focuses on how you can get started and leverage the concept in your day-to-day business. We also have a website where you can find links, references, and other additional info at www.deeperdive.tech or on itworldcanada.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter and resource guides. This series is sponsored by Wipro Canada, who offer end-to-end best practice solutions that help Canadian businesses and communities. Our hosts are
Jim Love, CIO and business strategist from IT World Canada and the co-author of Digital Transformation in the First Person.
And I'm Doug Sparks from the University of Waterloo's Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business.
And our special guest for this series is Amit Majitha. He's the country head for Wipro Canada, and we'll meet him later.
The subject of this deeper dive is planning in uncertainty, where we look at scenario planning, how companies of all sizes have developed plans to meet an uncertain and challenging future. Here's episode 1. We need a new playbook.
It's 1978. The Oakland Raiders are playing the San Diego Chargers in week 2. The Raiders trail 20-14. There are 10 seconds left on the clock.
I remember that game. Really?
Remember that game?
Yeah, that's
50
right.
years ago.
I mean, yeah, but I was in residence at the time. I might not remember all of it.
I looked it up on the internet. Let me finish my story. Okay, back to the dramatic pause here. Anyway, Quarterback Ken Stabler is there. He has the ball. He does the classic move back, and he's going to hopefully throw this miracle pass that they need. And Stabler is now unable to get clear of the San Diego defenseman, who's bearing down on him. Now, San Diego's defenders were perfectly executing their defensive play. Stabler's in trouble. But then Stabler did something nobody expected. He fumbled the ball. But even as fumbles go, this was totally unpredictable. Stabler fumbled the ball forward where another teammate grabbed it to recover the fumble on the 5-yard line. And then instead of holding on to this, that Raider also fumbled the ball, again, moving it past the 5-yard line, over the goal line, where it's recovered by the Raiders tight end Dave Casper for a touchdown. Now, the point. The play was unexpected, but not against the rules. San Diego's defensive strategy, which up until that moment had been flawlessly executed, simply couldn't respond to a play they'd never seen or prepared for. Now, the Raiders won the game. The NFL changed the rules the following season to prevent something like this from ever happening again. But in the official record books, the Raiders have the victory. So what's this got to do with corporate planning or scenario planning? A lot, actually.
Actually, this reminds me of my football experiences, especially the fumbling part. But this is a great story. I think it highlights a key point. We typically plan for like what we know and what we're familiar with and what has happened in the past. But when we encounter a situation that we aren't familiar with and we're not sure how to react, sometimes we fumble or muddle our way along, and maybe we'll be successful, but often we fail.
Yeah, and companies today are trying to break free of old top-down and hierarchical models and to become more agile. So this idea of the playbook is a good one. You want to move the decisions onto the field closer to the customer.
Yeah, right. Companies are trying to do this more and more. Take the cell phone industry, for example. In this industry where customer churn has a major impact on profitability, the customer calls the shots. So if you're having a problem, the customer service agent has their playbook, their predefined actions that they're going to take for different situations that they use to troubleshoot and work through the issue. But then if you come along and say, well, I want to cancel my account, they move you to the customer retention group and a whole new playbook is used.
Okay, so the advantage of this is it allows you to be agile and responsive, right? At the same time, you're keeping some degree of control. And that's important because without that control, any salesperson, any customer service agent could promise anything to make the customer happy. But on the other hand, operations or delivery may not be able to or even willing to keep that promise.
Yeah, it's a lot like football. You have a coach and a team. Everyone works from a playbook. You have a variety of situations, you watch for the signals, and you play out the one that's right for that context. Decisions are made in real time, and everyone on the team knows what to expect, and they know what to do in each situation, and it works.
Yeah, until it doesn't. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. This type of thinking has done a lot to make companies more agile and more responsive.
But it breaks down when somebody comes up with a new play that you didn't anticipate. So what you have to do is learn, and you change the rules to fit that in.
Which is great as long as the change is incremental. True. But that's not always what happens. In our book, Digital Transformation in the First Person, I point out that today there are events that have a massive impact and no precedent. So what it means is, as in our IT World Canada story, we could see the threat. We just had no playbook. Nobody in our industry had done what we did, going fully digital and then stopping all print. And it sounds old hat now, but back then we didn't know if we were really doing the right thing.
I can see that. So the question is, how can companies learn and adapt to new situations? Like, how can they do that at the speed that is required today? How do you respond to what Nassim Taleb called a black swan event?
Yeah, well, black swan event. I'll tell you my story of being in Stratford. Watch out for swans. Like, I got too close to it, which almost whacked me.
That's
and
right.
I think that's exactly what that black swan event is. Whack.
You almost ended up in Swan Lake there in Stratford. Okay.
No, end of the swan stuff. Back to reality.
Okay, back to reality. Okay, where was I before I was interrupted? Okay, so Taleb defined a black swan event as being an event that's unpredictable, first of all. Second, it results in severe and widespread consequences. And third, after the occurrence of the black swan event, people will rationalize the event as having been predictable. The challenge is exactly that. How can a company plan for and respond to unpredictable and potentially catastrophic events?
2 words: scenario planning. That's what we're going to talk about. And it has been done. So picture this. A totally unexpected global disruption occurs, something nobody predicted. But one large global company has developed a strategic planning method that not only predicts this seemingly impossible event, but they've also developed strategic initiatives that they have planned out in advance so they know how to respond.
Yeah, a lot of companies would absolutely love that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But the crazy thing is, there has been a method for dealing with huge global disruptions, and it's been around for more than 50 years. And that's what we're going to talk about in our next episode.
Yeah, we'll talk about how a global company used that planning process to survive not one, but 2 black swan events in the same decade.
And they didn't just survive. They became industry leaders.
In our next episode, we'll do a deeper dive into that story in our new episode, The Men Who Saw the Future. Dum, 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 dum. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
In subsequent episodes, we'll look at some case studies, some real-life circumstances on how it has been or could be applied. And in our last segment, we'll give you a guide to getting started with scenario planning in your company. Each of these episodes will also be available in text, and we'll publish some key tools and resources. You'll find us on itworldcanada.com/deeper dive or at the podcast site deeperdive.tech. That's deeperdive.tech. This series is sponsored by Wipro Canada, who offer end-to-end best practice solutions that help Canadian businesses and communities. See you next time. I'm James Roy.